So I promised some big updates. Here they are. The Paradise Syndicate is going to end. So wait. Before you get your panties into a bunch, what you know as the Paradise Syndicate is pretty much, at this point, a Telegram group, a website, and a couple of funny ideas. But there was so much more, and there is so much more, but the Paradise Syndicate still needs to end. And here is why. Paradise has a difficult connotation. It is perfection. It is the ultimate best possible. It is the thing that we might never reach, and yet we want to be there, and yet we can't be there, and it's all a bit difficult. And when I first looked for a name for the Paradise Syndicate, that still was the best option that I had. My other option was Utopia. But there is a big issue with Utopia. You know, most people think that Utopia is being spelled with a U. And that is a false belief based on a book called Utopia with a U by a guy called Thomas More. So what Thomas More did in 1516 is he published this book about this story of an island where everything was perfect, seemed perfect, it was the perfect society, and then you realized, oh, it wasn't perfect. It was crap. There was the slaves working here, and this was where people shouldn't look, and this is not good. And so basically he installed this idea that Utopia is impossible. He did it not just with his story, but with the word itself. You see, Utopia is actually spelled EU-topia, and it comes from Greek. As you hopefully are going to be able to read, EU-topia with an E actually means good place, from the Greek good and topos, which means place. And when Thomas More wrote his book, he basically cut the first letter, E, off. And hence it made it a bit ambiguous whether he meant eotopos or whether he meant o-topos. And o-topos, my friends, means no place. So basically Thomas More was saying Utopia is impossible. It's a place between a good place and no place. It's not possible, guys. What a weird move. Because before Thomas More, for thousands of years, humanity knew that Utopia is possible. When we talk about Utopia, we think about this impossible thing. Why? Because that's been installed in our minds for hundreds of years now. Anybody read 1984? Anybody read A Brave New World? Anybody's ever seen any dystopian movie where it looks like a good society, and then it's a Hunger Games society, where it looks like they're in paradise, and then there's a psychopath inside. Like, it's always this narrative that when it looks too good to be true, then it probably is. And that's not always been like that. In thousands of years of humanity, we always obsessed about this question. How could we create utopia? What would be the way there? And we actually walked that path. That led to the so-called Golden Ages, which were utopias. Maybe you've heard about Alexandria, or maybe you've heard about Tenochtitlan, or as you might know it, Mexico City is actually been largely underwater for a long time. And when I say underwater, I don't mean that in a bad way. According to our archaeological findings, the city used to be built inside of a lake and had waterways to transport heavy goods. So but what things like books and movies about this topic actually do is they make it more and more likely that people don't believe utopia is possible, and they don't even give it a second thought. You just hear the word utopia and you go straight into it's impossible. How often have you actually thought about how it would be possible? With this kind of attitude towards utopia and the naysayers saying it's impossible, it's impossible, it's impossible, it's impossible, don't even, it's impossible. Don't even start thinking about it. It's very, 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 very impossible. Seriously, when was the last time you had a utopian discussion with your friends? We kind of have these discussions all the time. We just don't think of them as quote-unquote utopian, but that's what they actually are. When you're looking to solve world hunger, when you think about how to advance in your career, those are all utopian thoughts. They're thoughts driven by the idea of improving things. Yeah, that's what utopia is. Utopia is a constant effort towards improving and making things better and better and better, guided by the best possible idea. So let me put the utopian philosophy in one single sentence, which is shoot for the best possible outcome in everything you do, the highest value, the one that creates the most positive impact in the world. But then realize that you are still human, which means you might have flaws. You might not be perfect yet. You might screw up every now and then. You might not be conscious of feelings of others. You might not, be conscious of time. You might have all kinds of flaws, and that is okay. It's part of the human experience. That's literally it. Shoot for the best possible and deal with your human condition. That's it. That's the recipe for utopia. Is that really enough to change our name from Paradise Syndicate to Utopia Syndicate? I would say absolutely, and here's why. Paradise has this limitation of where it is about perfection, and we don't feel perfect inside, and we don't see perfection yet all around us, so it's really tough to quote-unquote believe in paradise. Yet utopia is a lot worse. I mean the one with the U, remember? Utopia, we are made believe that it is never going to be able to be achieved, and hence utopian thinking goes out the door right there. But what about utopia? Because if utopia is a fake concept, utopia is the real deal. And here was their recipe. Good place, a motivation towards the best possible. That is actually what has driven utopian progress over all of our history. And all I'm saying now is, let's make it official. Let's create a project that can encompass pretty much everything under the sky of utopianism. Let's build the best possible world. And I'm not just talking about that figuratively or spiritually. I'm talking very, very tangibly in the here and now. Let's build everything we would need to build utopia. And that was pretty much the idea behind this project all along, which was to build what I called paradise back in the day, which I think now is a lot better described as utopia. Let's build utopia together. So with that being said, I'm basically announcing today we're changing the Paradise Syndicate to the Utopia Syndicate. That might not mean a lot to you yet, but wait until you see what all is within utopia, and that I will show you in the next video. Until then, much love, in lak'ech, and I hope to see you guys soon.